current transmission. If you'd like to leave a message, please do so after the tone. Thanks a lot.
Hello.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, hello, Pete. How are you?
This is Steve as manager.
Oh, hi.
How you doing? You ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, mate. I'll pass it over to Pete.
Thank you.
Cheers. Hi.
Hello, Pete. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm sorry I'm not doing this face-to-face, actually.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, I don't really enjoy the telephone ones, but it's, I'm just absolutely exhausted today, and there was no way I could drag my weary old carcass across the city to do a face-to-face interview.
I can imagine. You just got over flu, huh?
Yeah, a mild case of flu, but also the promo schedule with, I guess, about 80% of it's things that I'd rather not be doing. There's the crack of dawn radio interviews and things like that.
I see.
And it's things that I'd actually put a long way behind me, and they're all, jumping up like old carcasses, and it's part of the job, I guess,
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many weeks you got left to do it? A couple?
Yeah, it's only, actually, I think it's next week the single's released, but I'm absolutely horrified that we've received basically no radio airplay whatsoever, which is very disappointing, although I'm becoming a regular on TV and a TV celebrity. It seems that the last thing anybody wants me to do is promote a record. They just want me to actually promote myself.
Well, this is interesting. This was one of the points I wanted to raise with you, actually, because Susie Sue recently said that her image always gave people the opinion that the Banshees were all about veneer. Do you think your visual image overshadows the music? Obviously you do.
Well, define to me how you would classify veneer. We've got to do it like give and take here. How would you classify the veneer thing?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with what she's saying. I mean, that's her words. That's a direct quote. But veneer image. Obviously, a lot of critics did think that the Banshees were, I guess, I don't know, a little second-rate. I
don't think that they thought they were second-rate. I just think that as a female, she represented a very, very strong threat.
Yes.
One, she wasn't blonde, which seems to, be something that goes against women in the music industry to this day. Anybody who is dark and slightly broody is something that they find intimidating. And without being arrogant about it, just let me go back to one incident that happened this weekend. I won't name the TV show, but my video, which is just completed, was programmed to go on a certain Saturday morning TV show, and we received a call a few hours before saying, no, we've decided to drop it because he's too weird and scary for our viewers. Well, I think, okay, that's very fine, and I'm lying in bed on Saturday morning and Marilyn Manson's video goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, how can I be weird and scary when this guy, be it true or not, represents inciting schoolyard shootings and Nazi symbolism and things like that? I seem to intimidate people even more than Marilyn Manson. And I guess that's because people see him as some kind of pantomime character. I don't personally. I think he's got a place out there, and I think his imagery is very good. But I think because his imagery is actually so far extreme, and it's obviously a costume, people just think, oh, he's probably just really regular and dressing up like that. And also he's fucking ugly, and I'm not. And that represents a really horrible threat to people. And the fact that I live my life like this on a day-to-day basis has sinister connotations for people. Everybody's obsessed in some way with sex, sexuality, surgery, and it's not even drugs anymore. They're not obsessed with that. That's like a thing of the 80s. And I don't know what people think I spend my life doing, or if I was given a public platform, what I would incite the nation's youth to do. I'll never really understand it, and it frustrates me terribly, but other times I think, well, I haven't lost my edge. It's good to still actually rattle people's cages, but at the basis of it, we're not second-rate, and whatever people may think, Spin Me was a record that changed the course of chart history. It put Stockake and Waterman on the map for one thing,
Absolutely.
And for better or worse, they did come up with some very good records. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have ever had a Kylie.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have had a lot of other things. We opened the floodgates on those things. With a song we wrote ourselves, I must actually stress, it wasn't a Stockake and Waterman song.
Yeah.
And we did 2 albums with them, and we put them on the map, and Pete Waterman is the actual first to actually acknowledge that.
Yes.
At us. He'd have just been delegated or relegated to the divine category, who I don't think was a joke, was very talented. Hazel Dean and a few other kind of B-grade projects. We put him in the A-level.
Yes.
And I would have thought that we did bring a musical sound, and I don't say this in any patronising fashion, you must actually wear this as a responsible journalist. We did bring a sound that really was existing in gay culture.
Yes.
Brought it into the mainstream. Now, when that record was initially first promoted around TV stations and radio in the 80s, I mean, I'll be blunt with you, the response was, no, that's music for queers.
Right.
That was what radio programmers said in the 80s, and we just thought, there are queers, for want of a better word, who are too young to go to queer clubs, who may just have that kind of ambiguity bubbling away in them. And this record will give them a taste of what goes on in those places. The mirror balls, the spinning lights, the smoke machines, the glamour of it all. And we brought that sound into the mainstream. And I would have thought because it sold so many and it was number one all over the world, and it was the longest ever record it took the longest time to reach number one.
Yes.
It's in the Guinness Book of Records. I would have thought people would sit back now and think, hey, we didn't give this a leg up the first time, and it really did. It jumped over us and it got there, and it is a historic record, and let's lose our prejudices and our stupidity and let's program it on the radio.
Yes.
When it was initially promoted to radio, we were told, and this I understand, it's not R&B enough. All we're playing is R&B, like Justin Timberlake or whatever he's called, and blah, 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 Kelly Rowland and all these people, and I thought, I can get that. Then I woke up one morning and my radio alarm went off, and I nearly jumped out of bed in glee. Oh, my record's on the radio, and I was quite horrified to find it was Danny Minogue's record mixed with mine, with Danny Minogue singing over it. Somebody taken Spin Me and mixed in Danny's vocal and taken me off. Well, I thought, well, that's all very nice, but how can they say they can't play me, but they can play my backing track with Hair on?
Yeah.
And it became more and more prominent on the radio airwaves, and we let it tick away, and then we got in touch with her record company, who denied that they knew anything about it.
Right.
So we did a little bit of investigation, and we found out that her record company, Warner's, had actually been servicing that record to the radio station. They probably hoped that I'd retired to some obscure wool shop in Birmingham, and I didn't even own a radio. They thought I was probably not active in the music industry, and then the legal things went back and forth. Oh yeah, okay, we did do it, but we didn't know you were going to release it. And can we do a mix with more of you on? And we'll program that. And we gave okay to do a mix with more of me on.
Yeah.
And then we get a response that, no, sorry, we're finished with the Danny Minogue record. We don't need you anymore. So it seems that I'm meeting that wall of resistance at radio. And looking at the club stations of Spin Me, where it was number one in club charts for quite a long time, radio usually jump on the back of that. Not with us. I'm not embittered by it. I just don't understand it. I would have thought that at my advanced age it would have been slightly easier, but it seems it's always going to be an uphill struggle. But, regardless of that, I do have a very hardcore fan base, and that can exist without chart status, and that can exist on a very good level without chart status.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they're going to stop me existing. They're just making that final hurdle a little bit harder, and I just would like an actual relevant reason why they're not actually, playing it.
Well, exactly. I mean, what they're saying is bullshit. I mean, Kylie and Robbie, they're not R&B, are they? They're getting played.
I'm not glued to the radio, I wasn't aware, but I could dig it when they said we're only playing Justin Timberlake and blah, blah, blah. But just on this one particular day when the radio alarm went off, which I never put it on the radio, and ooh, there's my record.
Yeah.
Everything's rosy, and it was Danny, and then it was being played all the time, and people coming up to me saying, oh, I love your record with Danny, blah, blah, blah. And I guess if I changed my name to Granny Minogue or something, it would have been programmed a lot easier if they didn't know it was me. But we're always going to meet this resistance, and we have to find a way of working around that resistance, And it seems ridiculous now that if you're not on the radio, record companies are even in doubt of it. They're actually going to release your product. It's a weird situation that radio is ruling the actual orders to shops, and we're killing the music industry like that, because I did spend 48 hours listening to the radio just to become aware of what was going on, and on several shows they played the same records in the same order, and I don't even know why they even bothered to have a DJ there.
Yeah.
Just slap a CD on. There are other things out there, and I'm not just carping on in retrospect to me. There are other things out there that need the airplay. Let the public decide. But it's not a society like that anymore. There is a form of censorship, but it's not a valid censorship. It's just like, oh, we don't like the look of you, so we're not going to do you the favour and put you on the radio. And that really doesn't come under the definition of censorship. It's almost fascism. You don't quite fit what we think you should be, and I'll never fit what people think I should be.
Right.
I have a great life and a great existence, and everything I am and everything I will be has got me here and maintained me here, and I'm very happy in that way. but I always get this feeling that other people are kind of judging me in ways that they don't understand. You can't always tell a book by the cover, and I'm not saying that I'm Mother Teresa, but I don't know what people would think I would do given a public platform, you know?
Well, I totally agree with you, Pete. And I mean, to me, it sounds the R&B thing is complete bullshit. I mean,
a sack of bullholes. I know, but I believed it at first, you know, and I was happy in that delusion. I was very, very happy in that delusion. I thought, okay, that's fine. But when, you know, somebody can blatantly take my backing track and put their vocal over it, and it's played and welcomed and raved about with rave reviews and huge promotion, I'm like, well, something's really, you know, it's not sinister, but something's not right here.
Well, Danny Minogue's completely fucked up your single release then, hasn't she, really?
Completely, and we'll look into damages on that level, because I'm not happy about not having been asked permission regarding it. I mean, it is a legal thing that if someone's going to use your record, you have to give permission for them to do it if it's your composition, and nobody approached us. They just went ahead and did it, and
yeah, well,
it was fucking rude. And I wouldn't dare have taken Kylie's Can't Get You Out of My Head and done another song over it without asking Kylie's permission. But a lot of people in the industry probably don't think I'm active. They don't think that I'm working. They don't think that I'm still generating finance. They probably don't think I've got the money to own a radio, which I have.
Yeah.
I am aware of everything, and if I'm not aware of it, the internet makes me aware of it. And I just think it was fucking rude. And it's got nothing to do with Danny.
Yeah.
I'm sure Danny had nothing to do with it. I'm sure Danny probably didn't even know which song was being released, but it's the organisations behind these people who just think that we will take that. It's not going to turn into some awful war. And I don't believe the excuse of, oh, well, Danny's gone down the charts now, so we don't need to play you. I don't even believe that one. I just think that any excuse would be used. I mean, also, I was about to go on another TV show last week. I'm sitting here like, you know, Cinderella, always ready for the ball. And we get a phone call an hour before we leave. We don't want him on the show. Why? His language wasn't very choice on the Graham Norton show.
Oh, you said you had a ginormous knob.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to say? I've got a drippy twat. You know, I mean, he asked me a question like that, and they're saying we can't have him on the show because he said that. And
exactly.
And what next? We didn't like his blonde hair. We didn't like his eyeshadow. We didn't like the colour of his fingernails. It's like going through a whole little graph of things where they can put an obstacle in front of you. Do they think I'm seriously going to go on a you know, a main time TV show and scream on about a ginormous knob? I'm not ashamed of having a knob. What was I supposed to say?
Exactly.
So it's any excuse, and I think in the 80s it could have made me angry, and it doesn't make me angry. I just get this kind of like hot flush when I hear these excuses. I'm ready to leave for these things. You know, there's a car outside to take me. I'm in full war paint, and it's like, oh no, we just viewed the Graham Norton show, and he said, well, they didn't mention the ginormous knob press, they just said my language was not suitable.
They couldn't bring themselves to say it.
Well, do they think I've got Tourette's syndrome? You know, it's like, but I've also done Blue Peter, which there was no problem. I was on Blue Peter twice, I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, things are changing, I've been accepted into normal society, and things are just going to be one great big production of The Sound of Music from now on. Blue Peter weren't worried that I would say anything like that, but now the Graham Norton show is going against me. And it does affect your record company towards you. It does. Because they'll come to you and say, well, you know, they might have a point there. But I'm not going to sit on a great show like Graham Norton and just sit there like I saw fucking Boyzone, not saying anything. He's brilliant to do TV with, and you can joust back and forth, you know. But I don't understand why these rules apply to me.
Very, very...
And when I look back on it, you know, I look at poor old boy George's heroin addiction and how everybody was technically allowed to do that, from Keith Richards to God knows who, but when George did it, no, sorry, fuck off. You're not allowed that extra crime. I'm not allowed to swear, I'm not allowed to be myself, and it's just never going to change me, sorry.
Well, I guess the media and, you know, housewives and grannies and what have you, they always wanted Boy George to remain the tea-drinking, celibate, kind of asexual, nice, safe character that he...
But I was never like that.
You weren't? No, not at all, no. He certainly was, though, that in the early days of Culture Club.
But it came back and bit him in the ass, didn't it? And he's a really well-rounded, wonderful character now, and I have nothing but admiration for everything he's achieved and the way he conducted himself in public in the face of all that rubbish going in Fleet Street. But no, that was a sin, that was a crime. I mean, I know that he took his American visa off him, but they don't do that to fucking Keith Richards, you know?
Exactly,
yeah. They don't do it to that other old bag, Marianne Faithfull, and people like that. No, it's okay for them. People do want you to remain a certain way.
Yeah.
I get asked this constant question. I did a radio show at 7 o'clock in the morning, and you know, that's not a good time for me. And some fool goes, you look different now than you did in 85. So I turn around and well, I'm sure you look different than you did in 85. I don't know what it is, just said, got a curly hair and an eye patch and the old nose and things like that. Of course I've altered. I've altered organically, but I took a hand in it too and altered myself to fit what I wanted to be. And people find that really hard to understand.
I mean, would it be fair to say that your mannerisms and performance have over the years become more theatrical and maybe feminine too, while paradoxically you've built up your body a great deal masculine wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I always really wanted a masculine body, and I worked like a son of a bitch in a gym 6 days a week to get that, you know. I would actually, it wouldn't be correct to say mannerisms have become more effeminate. No, they haven't. I'm a man, and I'm a strong man, and I'm a tough man. I'm very, very happy to be a man. And I would say if you actually did look back with untarnished eyes to the way I was in the 80s, nothing has actually altered in that way. I've always been a very, very strong and powerful performer.
Yeah.
I don't agree there's even the slightest glitch of femininity about my performance. I may play with ambiguity in certain ways because it amuses me. Nothing has become more theatrical. In my peak of performances, when I was working out in Japan with budgets that suited what I wanted to do, I did really big productions with costumes falling out the ceiling and lifts bringing me up out the floor, and I really did it on a big time level, you know.
Yeah.
And here there are not budgets or time to do that. Nobody in this country has ever seen me at my best doing what I want to do, the kind of show that I want to present to the public. There just isn't the finance to do it. There isn't even the qualified professionals to participate in that in the music industry in this country.
Well, that's actually what I wanted to ask you, Pete, because I thoroughly enjoyed the GAY performance, and I wanted to ask you, why don't you do more live work in the UK?
Because the live work it's a hard thing to do. I wasn't lip syncing to a fucking tape. There were sequence backing tracks, there was live vocals and live keyboard lines and a live voice, and you don't have the time to lock yourself away. I mean, even the rehearsal studios that are of the dimension that you need to bring a full live production to the stage, they're not available anymore. They're closed down.
Right.
You know? You cannot go in for 4 weeks with a technical crew because the budget would be completely eaten up.
Right.
You have an on-stage soundman, you have an off-stage soundman, you have a technical crew on the stage to make sure sequences don't go down. You have spare microphones in case your microphone explodes. You have a monitor assistant. You have all of this thing just going into the technical production. And the budgets are not here anymore, so I'll go and do what I can on a level, but I ultimately always leave the stage feeling frustrated, thinking, well, that really wasn't very good. I didn't do what I wanted to do. I didn't have the whole live band that I wanted to have, and I always feel a bit shortchanged personally from doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in getting in a transit van and flogging my arse up and down the country doing live gigs for people who now fundamentally are coming to have a look at me. I understand that, but most of them are also waiting for me to just go in to spin me round. They'd be perfectly content if I did that 15 times over. As long as it thrills me, and it doesn't thrill me like it used to, I will do some live work. But, I so enjoyed doing that JY gig, and I could have gone on and done 6 that week, but it wasn't realistic to do because I'm stuck in the promo circle. Yeah, I could work up and down the country, but largely up and down the country, they're not as organised as GAY.
Yeah.
Not run by professionals like Jeremy Jones who get everything coordinated. You end up in some shithole with no dressing room, everyone's eat off the face, they lose your microphone, and it's logistically a nightmare to do.
I see.
And it would make me into a screaming banshee, and I have a reputation for being that, which I've never been, but I do see the shoes, the screaming banshee shoes, waiting for me to step into, I've done gigs up and down the country sporadically. I've arrived in Birmingham, there was no fucking microphone. I've arrived in Manchester, there was no dressing room. It's like, this is a fucking show. I've got to switch personality. I'm not like that in real life. I'm not just going to step out of a beer soaked van and be that person,